Hey everyone, this is Mike, and this is Pacific Beer Chat, podcast number 2. We've got Joe, Steve, Mike, Terry. So we'll just get right into it. Why don't we recap events we've been going to lately? You want to start, Terry?
Yeah, sure. So I went to a couple of different events. Probably the first one after our last podcast was the Vancouver Craft Beer Week day of questionable Irish heritage event, which was just like a small beer tasting fest. I actually volunteered there, which was cool. I haven't done that yet, and I've spent most of the night running water back and forth to the breweries, and I learned which ones actually rinse your glasses out and pay attention to that kind of stuff, and which ones don't. So a little shout out to Four Winds. They were probably the very best at making sure everyone had a clean glass before they poured their beer. Which, as a beer geek, I thought was pretty cool. So spent a lot of times running water back and forth to them, and then spent a little bit of time cleaning up broken glasses because it was an all-you-can-drink event, and there was music, so people were dancing with their taster glasses. And once a couple hours in, there were some good droppers.
Yeah, that's always a bad idea.
Yeah. So that was interesting, but it was well run, and I got to partake in the last hour and a bit and taste all the stuff that I wanted to taste. So that was pretty cool. So it was that one, and then I went down to Washington this past weekend, going to Comic-Con down there, because I'm also a comic book geek.
Nice. Kind of jealous.
And there was just happened to be a Cask Fest at the same time.
Oh, good timing.
The Washington Brewers Guild Cask Fest. There was over 100 casks there, which was just phenomenal. And again, it was all you can, it was pretty much all you can drink. For $40, you got a taster card that had 30 spots on it. And you basically had about 3.5 hours to fill it up.
Wow.
So it was funny because it's a little bit of a different culture there. It was either like double or triple IPAs or imperial stouts. There wasn't really much else there in terms of casks. Like everyone brought one of those, and then the odd person brought an extra one. So that was pretty cool. I did pretty good on that one. So
nice.
Pretty excited. Tasted a lot of really, really good barrel-aged beer.
Nice.
At least 20 of them, and I'm a huge barrel-aged beer fan, so that was pretty cool. Had a really good time.
Nice.
Yeah. How about you guys with your Victoria Craft Beer Week? How was that?
Well, Victoria Beer Week was great. It was 9 days straight, real slog for me. Tough. It was definitely a tough stretch there to make it through it all, but we had a really good time.
You survived? It's good?
Pardon me?
You survived?
Yeah, I survived, indeed. Overall, it was, I'd say, probably even more successful than we hoped as one of the organizers. Most of the events across the board sold out. Some were, not quite sold out, but were really strong, really good. And we had some really unexpected some events that went super well that I didn't, I had no idea how they do. There was one called Drink in the Story that was probably my favorite event. I hosted it. But,
Understandable.
Oh, okay.
it wasn't because of me though. It was because of brewers. We had three different brewers: Sean Hoyne, Ben Colley from Daggerad, and David Bowkett from Powell Street, and they each took turns talking about one of their beers and kind of the story behind their beer and their brewery and everything. And it was at the Drake, which is the great new craft beer hotspot here in Victoria. And the venue was perfect. The crowd was great. Each of the speakers was awesome. David Bowkett was good, and then Ben Colley came up second, and he just was hilarious. I didn't know that guy was so funny. Like, holy cow. He has the best.
Quiet.
Really good. And then Sean Hoyne finished off, and he basically stole the show because he pulled Frank Appleton out of the crowd. So Frank Appleton, of course, is one of the founding fathers of craft beer here in BC, along with John Mitchell. He helped build the Horseshoe Bay Brewery, the first microbrewery in Canada back in 1982. and put together a whole bunch of breweries, including Swan's Brew Pub across the street from the Drake. And he was in town visiting his son and came out for the event. So that was a really special evening for sure.
That's cool.
Yeah. And a few other events that were really good. We had Thunderdome, where we launched 10 brand new beers at an outdoor venue, kind of Mad Max style outdoor venue, and it went really well. Speaking of broken glasses, we fully expected that night to turn ugly, but it actually was completely civilized, surprisingly, despite the fact that it was a big mug, like a 10 or 12 ounce mug, and you beers to try, and a couple of those were really big ones. The new Category 12 beer, which is a 9.5% transmutation Belgian specialty ale. That was super popular, and it didn't get that messy. So, yeah. And then the end of the week we had the Craft Beer Revolution Town Hall night, which was my book launch, and also the kind of the town hall discussions about the current and future state of craft beer. And it was really, really interesting night. And Mike was there, and we had a really good time. I was on one of the panels, and I kind of put Matt Phillips in his place. I don't know. We'll see what happens next time I drop by the brewery. I was basically arguing that we should see a tasting lounge, like a Vancouver-style tasting lounge at a brewery in Victoria, and Phillips would be a great spot for it. But he was having none of it for some reason.
Yeah, sure would be.
But, at the end of the night, and then I also said we should have, I didn't say this, but I said, I pointed to the Growler bars they have south of the border, like at gas stations and stuff, and said we should do a similar thing here, though not gas stations, but, in private liquor stores kind of thing. And that was quite a big controversy as well. So anyway, Victoria Beer Week went really, really well. It was great.
Very well. I guess I'll step in here because I was over in Victoria too. I was at that town hall as well. I've got the new and the old version.
Nice.
Joe's book. The panels were great. Listening to Ian Hill of Strange Fellows, Nigel from Brass Neck, and Nigel from Main Street talking about the. What was that?
It was a Nigel sandwich.
Yeah, Nigel sandwich. But listening to the Vancouver side of all the beer lounges. And then conversely, when the Victoria panel went up, and just how different the thought process is there, it's quite interesting. And I also went to the New Brew Cruise, which we went around to 3 different breweries in Victoria, Category 12, 4 Mile, and the under construction Log House Brew Pub, which was a really neat event. And then my favorite was the Brewmaster's Brunch, where everyone's just sitting around on this big, huge, long table in this really cool space. And it was a 6-course, 6-beer breakfast with amazing stuff. The pulled pork sliders were amazing. Oh, wait, sorry, that's the wrong one. Looking at the wrong notes. Great food. I was sitting with Elton of West Coast Brewery Tours, and it was a great time.
Yeah, that brunch was awesome. It's our we look at it as our reward for the organizers at the end of the beer week, and it was great. It was a really great event.
Nice. Then I also went to, more recently, Maui Brewing Dinner at Hop and Vine in Burnaby, another 6-course, 6-beer meal. A little bit bigger pours, though. And great food, and the pulled pork sliders they put on went really well with a double IPA. And then, moving on, I went to the Beer League Bash put on by Bomber Brewing. It's an event where they played beer league hockey. Red Truck had a team. Parallel 49 had a team. The Bombers had a team, and then there was a team brought together with all of the different breweries that wanted to join in. And all the money went towards a program called BASH, which is the Britannia After School Hockey Program, where they raise money for at-risk youth, and then they get to play hockey. And there was a little cast festival and everything.
Yeah, those smaller events are generally a lot of fun.
Yeah, and then
unique.
Red Truck, their team won, so that's why I'm drinking their IPA right now.
There you go.
And
I hear the
then,
Beer Raider is a big fan of that one.
Let's not open that can.
why don't I pass it off to someone else here?
I think we're down to me, and I've been kind of lame lately. I haven't gone to any events in quite a while.
Hey, me too.
What? Yeah. My wife and I are looking to find another of the long table events, hopefully soon. But yeah, been saving up for a trip lately, so going down on the events.
All right.
Yeah, and I heard. Well, I mean, I bought my tickets for Vancouver Craft Beer Week. Those are up for sale now.
Yeah, where are you going?
I need to do the Belgian one again.
Oh yeah, I like that one. That's one of my favorites.
That was pretty cool last year, and I wanna do it again with a little bit more of a conceited strategy. I'll probably try and get all the blondes and saisons done, and then we'll see if I have room for the other stuff.
Good choice.
Good luck.
Yeah. Well, and you guys are going to one this weekend, right?
Yeah, it's Penticton Festival. Mike and I are both going to be judges on for the overall best beers in the festival kind of thing, and
Nice.
I'm also holding a seminar on Thursday night before the fest starts on Friday at Bad Tattoo Brewing. I'm doing my Craft Beer Revolution seminar and then a book launch there as well that night, so it should be a lot of fun. And the festival is always a fun time. It's been really improving last few years too, like a lot more craft beer, a lot more craft beer focus, less of a big booze up than it used to be. But it's getting better and better, and it's got really good organizers, and they've expanding it quite a bit this year. They have like an outdoor venue and food trucks and all this too added, because it's in a big conference hall basically, right? So
I think they might have a live band outside too.
yeah. And the great thing too is they do these awesome after parties. Like they have a party each night. You go to the festival and then you have like the after party at the brewery on the Friday night and the after party at the brewery on the Saturday night. So it's quite the weekend.
That must be an interesting
My
drive.
party is actually at the Kettle Valley Station pub
Right,
on
one of them
Saturday.
That's right. That one
The
of them
big
is
Murderer's Row.
yeah.
That must be an interesting drive home on that windy road
Yeah,
on
exactly.
Sunday.
We'll find out.
I'm flying home, so
Oh, trade ya.
but I have to drive up to Kelowna because the flights don't work through Penticton, so I do have to do some driving.
Oh, shoot. All right. Well, I guess we'll broach the next subject. It's causing a bit of trouble locally here as of April 1st. Why don't we talk about the price changes? The removal of tax from the shelf price and the actual change of the price itself. Anyone want to start there?
I can go, please.
Go for it.
Well, I mean, the removal of tax from the shelf pricing is kind of nice. I like seeing, 450 is 450. The increase in price I'm not as wild about because I'm paying more for my beer. Honestly, this is one of those ones where I haven't had enough time to really process exactly what's happening. Like, I still walk into a liquor store and the first thing I look at is the labels and not the price. It hasn't quite hit me yet. So, on the other hand, my beer bills have been going up. I've noticed that. So, I think this is probably going to cause me to try and cut down and be a little bit more selective on what I'm buying. Anyone else?
I noticed when I went into I checked out on a private store. I did a tweet about this. I checked out a couple of private stores and a government store on April 1st or 2nd, and the local store here, Cascadia, it's part of a chain here, had the prices marked on the price tags. They had the price without tax, but then they also listed the price total with the tax. And I thought that was good because that's what I'm used to, right? I'm used to seeing the whole price.
Yeah.
And then I went to the government store and they just had the price, without the tax, and it was weird because all these bottles are like, all these bombers are like $4.50 or $4.99 or something, and I'm like, wow. Yeah. And then of course, you bring them up to the counter and they end up being whatever $6.50 or something like that. And
yeah, exactly.
And I asked the clerk, have you been getting a lot of grief? And her answer was pretty obviously what they've been told to say, which was, oh no, it's not. It hasn't been bad at all. People kind of understand what's going on. I'm like, really? Like, you don't think that someone's gonna walk up and say, "What? How come I'm paying $6.50 for this $4.50 bottle of beer?" Right? So, and then I went to one more private store, which hadn't really gotten their act together yet. Spinnaker's store, and they were like, "Well, we haven't decided how we're gonna do it yet." So they still had the old prices on the wall. So I don't know what they were doing.
They have a choice.
They didn't have to charge the new prices yet, so I'm not really sure what that was about. But.
I find it kind of just annoying anyways. Like, I hate having to go into a store and just in my head add the tax as I'm buying stuff. I'd rather just have the full price, have it all right there, right up front.
Me too.
I don't see it necessary, personally, and all the conspiracy theorists will say, oh, this is the government taking the tax off so they can raise it under your nose and not let you notice as you're buying. That kind of thing. I don't know. I don't like it.
More broadly, I mean, I think it would be actually better to see like full pricing on everything, not just necessarily alcohol. Well, I mean, the banana is 99 cents per pound or whatever, or I get to the counter and it turns out to be $1.14.
Yeah.
Just give me my price. That's all I want.
I don't think
liquor taxes are bigger.
I don't think we actually pay tax on bananas, but I hear your point. I think when it's a 5% GST, it's relatively easy to figure it out, right? We're talking about a small and easy calculation, but I don't even know how much tax I'm paying right now on alcohol. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I think it's 15% is what I. About 15%, at least on beer. I didn't look at the other ones, but.
Not sure if I still have the.
It's actually, it reminds me a lot of what Washington did, because they have this. I think it's like 20% tax rate or something like that that's just added on. But that's the Washington markup. I don't think they do anything else anymore. But Costco was the first one to actually just put the tax price in there, because they probably got lots and lots of people just doing the same thing. Like, I went into a BC liquor store on April 1st, and I must have heard them explain it to every single person who was asking at the till what was going on, why their beer was A, more, or B, different than the shelf price. I even heard two rather surly people arguing with each other over how much whether or not they could afford something, because they only had $10.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's that whole, part of the market where there's people who are just going in to buy a can or something, and they're gonna count out their $1.99 because that's what it says on there, and then they're gonna get, have a whole argument over what they're actually supposed to pay, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm really interested in, because they have this whole new markup scheme for beer, and it's all based on volume, right?
Yeah.
I wonder what they're going to do with imports. Like, how do you know what an import's volume is? Is it different? Does anybody know? I haven't the slightest clue.
Well, the one store I talked to, it looks like stuff from Europe isn't going up that bad, but the stuff from New Zealand, some of it's gone up by $2.
Wow,
crazy! So I'm not sure what's going on.
Well, I heard they had to submit prices without even knowing what the markup was going to be, so they were just guessing at it.
That's true.
I read something about what the Central Surrey guys were saying. Yeah, we submitted prices, but in another 2 months we'll submit new pricing if we feel we went too low or too high. So it's gonna be interesting to see how it plays out. But largely, I found most things went up a little.
Yeah,
well, I think the average is 30 to 60 cents, and then a lot of American stuff's gone up by about $1 for a bomber.
Yeah. I think it's going to be interesting over the next couple years, now that there has been changes after no changes in quite a while, that we're going to go through this transitional period of just liquor laws in general and prices, and it's going to be a lot of headaches and some awesome stuff in between there as we kind of figure out where we want to sit legally and price-wise with our alcohol.
Yeah.
And I heard, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, that there were going to be a limited number of licenses put out for liquor actually straight off of grocery store shelves. Did anyone else hear about that, or is it
yes.
am I off? So I think you're right. We're seeing a lot of changes, and even the next wave is starting a little bit.
Another confusing thing is that they have a wholesale price now, but only current customers can buy at that wholesale price.
Yeah.
Any new stores will have to buy from current stores, so they won't get the same pricing.
Yeah, it's strange. But and another thing, correct me if I'm wrong. I heard that like growler fills aren't really right now affected by the increases. Does anyone know?
It's not a packaged product, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, being a marketing guy, I kind of see this as an opportunity for the breweries to say, hey, we're not marked up. Come fill your growler here. Even though, you might not be saving something. It's all marketing,
Didn't they flatten the markup, right? Like it's the same for packaged and non, isn't it?
That's what I thought.
I'm not sure.
But again, I think this is the point. Nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
Like,
You can phone everyone and no one knows.
Liquor stores don't know.
So thank you, MLAs, for the confusion.
Well, it's just like the rest of the liquor law stuff. It's gone so well.
Oh, yeah. Okay, we could probably talk about this forever.
Yeah, all right. Why don't we move on? Growlers are becoming a big topic lately. Why don't we talk about how you take care of them, expansion to liquor stores possibly.
Gas stations, come on.
I was just in the States, and that weirds me out every time.
Yeah.
And drive
Just
through
what kind of beer you want to see in Growlers, even.
Well,
How do you guys clean your growlers personally? Like, I know a guy that doesn't, which is kind of weird. But
I generally just rinse them out immediately after I finish them. Like, give them a really thorough rinse, and then I dry them, and that's about it. I don't do anything else beyond that. I've never had a problem, but
yeah, same.
Yeah, I rinse mine, and then
you shouldn't use soap like detergent at all, right? You don't.
Yeah.
Rinse with water, rinse with hot water, and then make sure you rinse it before you get it filled again. Like rinse it right before you take it if you can.
Yeah.
Most breweries will, but some don't.
Yeah.
I've seen the recommendation too that if you're starting to get it smell you can't get rid of just from rinsing, you can use OxyClean.
Yeah,
I've seen that. I've seen people write about that.
Yeah,
if you're
so that's your option there.
You soak your beer bottles in OxyClean often to get the labels off. That's the easiest way to do it. So
sweet.
You can also use sanitizer that they use from again, homebrewer sanitizer works quite well. Doesn't affect the taste, which is good.
Well, I don't know.
Speaking of growlers, I've got a. I didn't show this earlier, but I've got
cool.
a growler from Moody. This is their Hardy Brown Ale, and it's quite delicious, actually.
They are my current favorite brewery.
Those guys make really nice beer. I have to say, I really like their products.
Sweet.
Yeah.
I'll
just say, I don't like even buying standard lineup beer in a growler personally.
Yeah.
If I'm buying a growler, I want it to be some kind of one-off, something different.
Ideally, yeah.
Winnipeg called Half Pints does a Test Batch Tuesday, and every Tuesday they do a one-off that's either standard beer with something different in it or a brand new beer they're trying out. They only do, I think it's 50 liters of it, so there's not that many growler fills.
Right.
I'm lucky that I've had probably 6 or 7 different ones already, and they've been really good.
Oh, that's because your buddy from Winnipeg, your truck driver buddy or whatever, is bringing them out? Nice.
Good having connection.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I wish more of the breweries here in Victoria did that, to be honest. There isn't much of a scene, like there's a growler scene, but not a lot of specialty stuff going on to the taps. Phillips will occasionally put one of their more unusual beers on, which is nice. It'll be like, one of the, because they have like these beers that they rotate through their hop box and so on that they only produce once in a while. So you'll see something appear there suddenly. And Lighthouse was doing a thing for a while with a kind of a pilot program like that, but I don't think they've done it. I don't think they kept it up through the winter. And otherwise, yeah, like Driftwood never puts anything weird on, like ever, which is unfortunate. And
Hoyne, Fat Tug though.
Huh?
You can get Fat Tug.
Yeah, I know. You can get Fat Tug and you can get Blackstone Porter or whatever, but it's great. It's good beers, but it's not, like you just said, Mike. You want to see unusual specialty stuff. Like That's why whenever I go over to Vancouver, I bring all the growlers I have, and I fill up
Yeah.
my trunk so I can get all kinds of like whatever the crazy new thing at Brass Neck is or whatever, right? So,
Yeah.
and Four Winds always is putting stuff on too, and yeah.
Do you think that people don't put the experimental stuff due to a higher cost to produce it, or is it just they want to get rid of stuff that they have, like the normal stock, because they go through it?
I think it all comes down to volume. They've got tons and tons of the other beer, and their test batches are usually a lot smaller, so they want them to stick around so that people in a tasting room can actually try them.
Good point. Yeah.
Then you're sitting there and trying all of them, and then calling a cab and leaving your car there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I wish it always bugs me when a beer has like 10 things on tap, or a brewery has 10 things on tap, but they'll only fill like 4 of them in growlers. And I get it if it's a cost thing. If your equipment can only accommodate, say, 4 taps on a growler fill station or something, I don't know enough about that. But why can't you sell me a 1-liter growler and just limit it to 1 or something, right? Like, why do I have to sit there and drink the beer there, and then after 1 or 2 of those, you really shouldn't be driving anywhere unless you've been there for long enough.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I'd rather just grab it on the way home from work, take it home, and have it that night, right? So
Yeah, for sure.
I really wish they would do that. Just limit it to 1 liter, and I'll just throw it out there. I love Washington's growler model. I'd love to see growlers anywhere you can get them. I don't understand why. I can buy this and it's okay. I can buy this and it's okay, but all of a sudden this, so forget it. This is a growler. It's officially a growler. Why is this wrong? But this is okay, and this is okay. It doesn't make any sense.
How many hands do you have?
I was waiting for the big brown jug to appear.
Yeah, no, mine they're around.
I find myself, I hardly ever fill the 2 liter or the 1.9 liter jugs anymore. Like the 1 liter is ideal, right? Because the big ones, I mean, it just kills you to drink one of those in a night. But the next night you crack it and it tastes crap.
Yeah.
And it tastes as good. So it's a waste, And I mean, ideally you're going to share it, but let's face it, half the time I'm drinking in front of the TV by myself. So
same here.
Totally.
So 1 liter is perfect, right? It's ideal.
Yeah.
You can have, even if you have a couple of those, well, so be it. But that's your problem.
Nearly all my growlers at this point are the 1 liters. I got, I think, 1 2 liter, and the rest of them I want a little more variety. And I can't drink a 2 liter on my own.
No.
Yeah, the worst one for me is 4 Winds. I love them, but they're in the middle of nowhere. And all of the really exciting beers are those ones you can't fill.
I know.
Yeah,
they got 4 on one side. These are the ones you can have, and then you can just taste these ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, in a place like that, I mean, I love that place, but they close at 7 now. So I mean, again, after work, like you either spend an hour there. If you're gonna have 2 glasses, you're really starting to put yourself at risk there, depending on what you're drinking, and so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, this is maybe another topic, but one of the reasons why we don't have the kind of tasting room culture here in Victoria is that a lot of the breweries, there's only a few breweries that could do it, but the ones that could, I think, are reluctant because they're worried about people drinking and driving, right? Like Category 12 is kind of like Four Winds in its location, right? It's on the highway on the way to the ferry, and it's in an industrial park, and they don't want to sell beer by the glass because they don't want to kind of promote people having a couple glasses and then driving.
Isn't there more housing around that place, though?
Pardon me?
Isn't there more housing around that place?
Yeah, there is. I agree, but it's not like you'd necessarily be able to walk that easily. I mean, there are some buses that go by there too, but I'm just saying what they've said. They don't really want to necessarily do the full-on tasting lounge by the glass. I mean, they'll serve samples, right? But they don't want to do by the glass necessarily because of that. And nobody else in Victoria is jumping on that bandwagon either. So
yeah,
makes sense.
I'm not saying I agree. I'm just saying what they say.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. I understand what they're saying. Well, I had a conversation on Twitter today. I really didn't like Growlers. And one of the points I brought up is that he was saying that he likes the packaged product because they're always recycled and always reused. But in BC, they're not usually reused.
Yeah.
They're crushed, sent, and recycled. Whereas with a growler, if it's a 2-liter growler, there's your 6-pack, or you can buy a 6-pack and there's 6 bottles that are being crushed every time.
Yeah, there's no question that growlers aren't the most like environmentally sound option. They are for sure, but because like you said, bottles are pretty much all crushed. The only bottles that are reused are the standard bottles that Molson and Labatt use, right?
Yeah.
And some breweries use them, but hardly any of the breweries use them
bottling here
anymore because they want to differentiate themselves, right? So
Yeah.
in cans, I mean,
No bottling here.
huh?
Molson's no longer bottling in BC.
Oh yeah, that's right. They're bottling at the Turning Point Brewery, right? So.
Yeah.
But and cans are great too from an environmental standpoint, unless you count back to the mining, which is not very good. Otherwise, they're great. But even they, they're not reused. They're crushed and used, recycled into something else. But yeah, I mean, growlers are for sure the best in that sense too.
Yeah, and I've actually converted most of my growlers over to flip tops now because I find the standard lids. After a couple of uses, they get kind of gross, and
Yeah.
they don't seem to keep a very good seal. Where the flip tops, and it's just like those house sound bottles, you can use those for a long, long time.
I love those bottles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've exclusively gone to that, except for I do have 3 of the 1.9 liters. I actually take them down to a place in the States in the summer that serves them in cold brew coffee in them, and so I get 2 or 3 of those filled a week for some nice. Really, really good tasting cold brew coffee, which I love.
Awesome.
I haven't been questioned at the border. That's going to be an interesting conversation if they ever open my trunk and see 3 growlers in there. I'm like, no, swear it's coffee. It's a
You gotta let me know where
everything.
that is. I love coffee.
Yeah, it's Woods in just across the border, basically.
Oh, the Woods Coffee. Okay.
Yeah, they have it year round, but I generally buy it in summer. So I mean, there's lots of other things you can do with growlers, right? So
Yeah.
I mean,
Cool.
my favorite growlers right now are stainless steel growlers. Got 2 the 1.89 liters, one from Steel and Oak and one from 4 Mile in Victoria. And they're great. They got a much better seal and no light skunking. They seem to last a lot longer.
One thing I was noticing with those though, I've got one of the Steel and Oak ones, and I agree, better seal. I'm not noticing any flavor differentiation, but if you don't drink it right away, the pressure builds and the bottom bows out. So you have like the flat bottom, and it slowly does this. And
My
then
favorite is
in
it
the kitchen.
explodes when you open it.
interesting.
Yeah, they show that they hold their pressure.
They definitely hold their pressure, but
Yeah.
Sounds like
And
a
then,
manufacturing issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had one stainless steel growler manufacturer sent me one as a sample, and I went and filled it up at Phillips and brought it to a buddy who was okay. So it's a kind of a complicated story. He was camping out for the kindergarten program. He had to camp out for a weekend to get his kid into this special kindergarten program, right, at the school. A growler as a special reward, but they couldn't seal it at Phillips when I filled it. They kept turning and it wouldn't seal. And so I brought it to him and said, "You got to drink it up right now, man." He
That's
said,
bizarre.
and it was amnesiac. It was the 9% double IPA.
Oh, yeah.
He kept himself warm.
Yeah.
No, I bet.
Or at least
But
he
anyway,
thought
the
he was warm.
growler leaked, so I mean, I can't really use it ever again. So
Yeah.
Not a great sample to give out.
exactly.
Oh man.
So what about you? You know, you said that you really like the Washington model. What about the is there any the brewers here are saying they don't like the idea of having growlers in private stores for a couple of reasons, but one reason is the whole idea of you don't know the cleanliness, you don't know how the beer is being treated, how it's being poured and all the rest of it, if the lines are clean. Have you guys ever encountered any problems like that with growlers from non-traditional places south of the border?
No, I haven't. And my standard response to that is, there's just as many problems in the local bars as there are at these places.
Yeah.
There's dirty lines out there. There's dirty glasses. There's, all kinds. Certain gas. If a gas station looks seedy, I'm not going to stop there at all. Or anything, right? I'm just going to.
If you don't want to put the gas in your car, you probably don't want to put the beer in your growler.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Well, I know I haven't been, but Winnipeg's adopted that exact model where they sell the beer in private liquor stores because there's only 2 breweries in Winnipeg, and it seems to work really well there.
Well, they don't have. First of all, they don't have private liquor stores there. They only have government stores.
Oh, sorry, government stores. Yeah, but
the
they're even bringing in growler fills from Ontario and stuff.
Well, as I understand it, they only fill half pints in Fort Garry. That's the only beer that they put in growlers in the stores in Winnipeg. And they did that
they
first.
actually brought in Lake of the Woods from across in Kenora.
Yeah, there might be an exception for Lake of Woods because Lake of Woods is like Kenora is considered Manitoba. I don't understand the logic, but they basically treat it as if it's Manitoba, right? But they're in there, and the funny thing is, there's the Farmery Brewery, which is a Manitoba brewery supposedly, but they don't brew their own beer. They got it brewed in Muskoka, so they're not filling Farmery growlers, and it's good because the beer is not very good anyway. So
no, Manitoba won't let it in.
They put the growler fills in the Manitoba stores before they let the breweries half pints in Fort Garry actually do growler fills. So they had it in stores first, but now the breweries can too. So it's all good.
Yeah, I'd love to just be able to see any sort of bar should be able to fill them. I've been to quite a few stores in the States where they fill them well. I had a growler, Deschutes Mirror barley wine. I paid about the same price as I paid for a bottle here to fill a growler, a big growler. And I actually, that's the one beer, that and Imperial Stout. If you drink it over 2 days, because you kind of have to, unless you're crazy, it oxidizes like it's aged for 5 years in the growler. So it's actually quite a neat experience because the second day, it's like when you crack open a bottle of wine. If you don't like it, a lot of times you put the cork back in and save it for another day. You either put it in the fridge or just leave it out. And it's often quite wonderful the next day, right? Because it oxidizes a little bit and mellows out. So you can do that with only the real big beers that aren't so hoppy, or the hops are just by the sweetness.
Yeah.
Only issue I have with filling growlers in the States is I like to have my growler pressurized with CO2 first, so I don't have to drink it that day. I can wait up to a week or 2 before I open it if my plans change or things happen.
Yeah, I'm starting to see more and more of the CO2 style growler fill stations there now, where they actually pump it. There actually had one person break a growler. The growler was weak, and they put the CO2 in it. Just went. So I learned why they actually have the cage. I didn't know why they had the cage there. That's why.
The cage isn't perfect. Braden from Driftwood now had one explode and actually cut him pretty bad.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard some of the breweries have a system where they actually tap the growler on a hard surface before they put them into the filler, just because if it's got a fault in the bottom of the growler, usually it's the bottom, the bottom part of the growler, the base, that'll crack. So it'll apparently that way you'll hear it, or at least it might crack off then before you do it. I don't know if everybody does that.
And I've heard the Boston Round style is weaker.
Could be.
I've heard more of them break.
Could be.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, I've actually, funny story. Filled up 2 growlers at our local White Rock Brewing Company here, and my wife was holding them in the car on the ride home, and while shifting our Thai food takeout, they did that little clinky, and the clinky turned into a pop.
Oh no!
Oh no!
a full growler worth of shards of glass and beer. Luckily, it was a Christmas ale, so it actually made the car smell quite good. But I lost some brownie points because I got mad at her for breaking the growler and losing the beer. But you know, it happens. But that's the thing with them too, is they're glass, and so you treat them like. There's so many different products that are out there to, you know, safeguard your growlers in the car, and I now use 50 billion blankets and a seatbelt to keep them safe.
I'm not gonna
I
lie.
actually had a growler break in my car, and it soured.
Oh.
It was so hard to get rid of the smell. And it was 2 liters.
Oh no.
Yeah,
I ain't gonna lie. I put mine in the baby car seat.
I've done that too, buddy.
Yes.
I'll admit it.
Assuming there's not a kid in there, of course.
Yeah.
Oh, no,
Put the kid in the front seat, the growler goes in there. Explain that one to the cop.
Oh, jeez. Oh, that's good.
Nice.
Cool. Well, I think we're getting to the end here. What do you guys? Anything else?
I think so, yeah.
No, I think it's good.
I think we've had a good one.
Perfect. Well, I hope
Cheers, guys.
everyone's enjoyed podcast number 2.
My glass
Cheers.
is empty, so I'm definitely done. I want to fill this up again.
There you go.
All right.
You can't toast with an empty glass.
Exactly. All right, signing off.